Hello!
Hello!
I'm Kav.
I'm Mikayla.
And this is Work in Progress. You remembered the title this time.
Yeah, I know. Wow,
Growth.
look at me.
Wow, I love growth. So, the two of us are back again for our second episode of the podcast. And I won't pretend that I know how the first episode was received because, as you can see, we're in the exact same clothes, so we're filming this the same day.
Yep. So, shocker, we're doing our second episode on beauty standards.
Yes. We actually did touch on them in the first episode, and then we decided that we might as well do a whole episode on it because we have a lot to say.
There's a lot to cover.
Yes. So we do have, again, some sources listed in the description below, as well as a link to the National Center for Eating Disorders, because we felt that that would be an appropriate thing to link in this video. If you or anyone you know is dealing with an eating disorder, please get help. Because
don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, I know that sounds so generic. That sounds like what everyone says, but seriously, it will change your life, and it will even save your life. So please, please.
Yeah, there's so many great resources out there, and there are people who care about you, and there are people who will hear you and listen to you.
And along with that, we have a few other sources just on beauty standards in general, so definitely check those out if this is a topic you're interested in. But I think we should just start talking.
Yeah, without further ado, I think it's really harmful. I mean, I guess,
I feel like that's the baseline of
spoiler alert!
It's harmful!
Yeah, no, it's... Especially when it comes to things like Photoshop, when, like, every single picture you see on the front of magazines and every single, like, picture you see in, like, clothing ads, it's, like... It's harmful when you're really young because you actually think that that's what you're supposed to look like, and, you know...
And you think that that's achievable. You think that you actually achieve...
it's literally not possible to look like that.
Some of those body types you see, actually like 99% of the body types you see on the cover of magazines, you literally cannot achieve that body type. It is biologically impossible to look like that.
I think it's, like, it's even more frustrating, like... being like a teenager, young adult, and trying to buy clothes and literally like having no idea if this is gonna fit you if you look at it online, just because everything is like photoshopped to hell, and you're just like, well, I don't even know if I should buy these because obviously I'm not gonna look like they do.
Yeah, I mean, my friend and I were walking by a clothing store while we were in the mall, and she was like, look, even our mannequins are thinner than the average person could be. Like, it's ridiculous how ingrained these standards are in our society, especially because for years, beauty standards have always been changing. What is now considered the ideal form of beauty was not considered the ideal form of beauty like 100 years ago. It was
not even 20 years ago. Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's always changing, but then as soon as the newest standard hits, people will literally starve themselves and will drive themselves to the brink of death to achieve them, because that's what we're taught. We're taught that we're not desirable, we're not worthy, we're not worthy of life or happiness if we don't look a certain way. And
it affects everyone. It really does.
It does.
But, you know, we're culturally ingrained as women
as female-presenting
people, that your worth is tied to your beauty and your looks and how you present yourself. And that's, you know, it's so harmful, you know, to be a young person who's not traditionally attractive or not, like, just not looking the traditional way, or even, like, because if one thing is off, you feel like shit about yourself. And, I don't know. I think it's just really harmful, especially, like, being in California. I don't know if you ever had the perception, like, growing up of, like, this, like, beachy blonde, tan California girl, like, whatever. Especially, like, growing up on the beach and, like, with a lot of surfers and stuff. It's just, like, that's not what I look like, and it's never gonna be how I look, and oh well. And it's so harmful because the standards that they promote are completely 100% unachievable, and the only way that you're gonna achieve that is by harming and hurting your body. And we shouldn't be teaching young girls to hurt their bodies. We should be teaching them how to take care of them and how to love yourself and how...
And I feel like it's just getting worse nowadays because with social media and now more than that with all of these new apps like Facetune and stuff, it is so harmful. Like I truly hate Facetune with so deep inside me. I despise it because it is unreal. And yes, people do edit their photos. I believe everyone edits their photos and they do, you know, pose their photos to be at a more flattering angle. I do that. I do edit my photos, but I don't edit them to look like someone I'm not. They still look like me. I put a filter on them. I brighten them. I add contrast. I don't change my face. I don't change my body type. I don't make myself a different person. Yeah, it's just so harmful because that's what we're teaching people. And now with these beauty influencers and stuff, that's exactly what they're playing into. And look, I love beauty. I love makeup. I'm always wearing makeup in my videos. And yes, there is something to be said about beauty standards and we can look into those, but also there is a really big part of me that genuinely loves makeup, that genuinely loves fashion. I do enjoy those things, you know. Fashion is something I actually considered going into professionally, so this isn't just like strictly for fulfilling beauty standards, but makeup should be used as like a form of expression, as a form of enhancing already existing beauty. Same with fashion, it's a form of expression. It's not you covering yourself up to look how the world wants you to look.
Yeah, and it's not like, you know, I hate this like mentality that you're like wearing makeup for men or what, like you're wearing makeup because you want people to notice you, and like, no, like if I wear makeup, I'm wearing makeup because I feel like it. Like,
yeah,
you know, if like I don't wear makeup every day. I can't speak to that, but like if I'm wearing makeup and I know that it's true for all of my friends who wear makeup, like we're not doing it to impress someone. You're doing it to feel not even to feel good about yourself. You're doing it
just because you want to.
Because you want
just
to.
For fun.
I mean, it's like it's the most relaxing way to kind of open up your morning is to just like sit there and focus on yourself for a little bit.
And we're not saying that there aren't people who do it because they want to impress people and such, but what we're saying is that the mindset needs to be changed. Young people, whether they're young girls, boys, non-binary people, they shouldn't be wearing makeup because they feel like they have to, because they feel like they have to impress someone. They should engage in makeup and in fashion and in that stuff because they think it's fun, because they want to, or they should never wear makeup. Like, both of those options are equally valid, but what we're doing is we're selling the idea to young people, and young girls especially, that makeup is a necessity, that you need it to look beautiful. Like, the beauty industry is literally built to sell you insecurities. They sell you insecurities that you didn't even have before. There are things that you could have liked about yourself but they'll change it with an ad of theirs that makes you then hate yourself.
Yeah. It's just like, it's so frustrating. You know, being a young person and just having all this thrust in your face, and it's like, well, why can't I just love myself for how I look? But no, I need XYZ products to fix XYZ things and blah, 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 blah. And then if in the event that I use these products or any product, then I'm told that I'm just doing it for other people. And, you know, that's such a harmful message to tell young people and to tell like young girls in particular, is that, well, if you're wearing makeup, you're only doing it to impress like people. Like, I remember that there was a girl in my middle school and she did her eyeliner every single day, and everybody called her Sharpie, and everybody called her a whore, and everybody called her a slut, and all of these horrible, horrible, horrible names just because this girl liked doing her eyeliner. And you know, I hope that she's still out there doing her eyeliner.
Yeah.
You know, enjoying herself, being a badass bitch, because that's who she is. And, you know, if she wants to do that for her, then she can do that for her. It's not to impress anybody.
Yeah, I mean, and there definitely are changes happening. There are people who are working to change this. I mean, we were just talking about a few of them before filming. You know, Jamila is a big name you think of in terms of body positivity. And then there's a YouTuber, Nabella Noor, who you know, campaigns for body positivity as well. There's Lizzo, who is the baddest bitch, and I love her. Like, there are people who are changing things, but it also feels like so often when we go 2 steps forward, we also take 2 steps back, because then Victoria's Secret comes out and says that they'll never have any plus size models or any trans models because this is supposed to be the ideal, and there's no reason that a fat woman or a trans woman should not be able to fit the ideal vision of beauty.
There's this idea of the feminine ideal, and it's supposed to be like this ideal body, ideal hair, like ideal like facial contour, and it's just like nobody fits that. Like there is not a person in the world who fits the ideal like fucking image of perfection without hours and hours and hours of Facetune and Photoshop, like just trimming away at those lines. And it's just, it's really sad because, you know, not only are we told that this is what you have to look like to be worthy of receiving love and affection, but we're also told, well, that, well, if you're trans or if you're bigger or anything else that
if
you're not
dark-skinned.
If you're dark-skinned, that you're not worthy of love and affection, if you have short hair, like literally anything. Like you don't look, you're not blonde, green-eyed, tiny-nosed.
Yeah.
Like
you have a big nose.
Size 4 body.
Yeah.
You know?
It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, that's the fact of the matter. And the thing is, like, we can acknowledge that, we can be self-aware of that and aware of the fact that this is ridiculous. So many of the people I know are aware of how ridiculous, and I mean, that's really the word for it, how ridiculous, beauty standards are, but then you constantly see it shoved in your face, you know, on the front of magazines. Even if you don't buy magazines, you enter a store and it's right there. You turn on the TV and, you know, you want to watch a TV show with teenagers like you, and instead it's like 23-year-old thin white women who look perfect.
And it's like, it's, you know, that's one of my biggest things that I wanted to talk about is in media. When you see, you know, you're watching a TV show about high schoolers, and, you know, let's just say that there's 9 girls in the cast, and there's the one nerdy girl, and the nerdy girl is the only one who's not traditionally attractive.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of message does that send to young nerdy girls?
Yeah.
And young geeky girls? I mean, like, for me, I was a gamer growing up. I loved video games. I still love video games. And all of the depictions that I saw of, like, female gamers in media, they were either, like, overweight, or, you know, they had all sorts of pimples, or, you know, they were dating, like, some jackass, and, like, it was always something. They were never just a girl who liked playing video games and just happened to like playing video games.
So that sells the idea to young nerdy girls that 1, they're not attractive, and 2, it associates these other things with unattractiveness. It associates being overweight or having pimples with being unattractive, when neither of those are true.
Yeah. And it also, like, it just ingrains this idea in your head that, you know, that attractiveness and worth are combined, and our society is so built, like, this is a pillar that is just built into our society, that a woman's worth is tied to her physical attractiveness. And it's sad and it's ridiculous, but it's like, okay, you want to hear an interesting, like, study that was done?
Always.
So this was a little while back. I don't remember exactly who did it, or but it was addressing the claim that more traditionally attractive women do more successful in the workplace, and it's actually the opposite. Because more traditionally attractive women in the workplace are harassed more, and they're, like, you know, accused of being vain and wanting to, like, whatever.
Lovely.
And it's like, even if you're the, like, traditionally attractive ideal, there's no winning here, because everybody just thinks that you're vain and that you're a slut and that you're doing it for attention and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, why can't we just be? Like, I don't know. It's just ridiculous. Women can't just be.
And this is not to say that men or cis men or people who present as men don't also deal with beauty standards of their own, because there are, you see the same thing with nerdy guys, they're scrawny or whatever, so or, they aren't
pimples attractive. Or like whatever. It's like it's the same.
Yeah, they don't have the right muscles. They're not like a jock. Like you see the same kind of mentality, and then that just kind of breeds into toxic masculinity, which again could be a whole nother episode.
Yeah,
on its own. But like, no matter what, there's no winning, no matter who you are. And then if you even want to try to tie in like what it's like to be, non-binary or something, even within non-binary, there's this idea that the only valid non-binary look is being like an androgynous white person with short hair who's, stereotypically thin. So no matter what gender you are, even if you are no gender, there's still an expectation for how you are supposed to present. There's still an ideal.
And there's, and it sucks for people of color too, because there's like, the ideal is just shown time and time and time again to be, a thin white woman.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's ridiculous because, white people make up what, like 26% or something? 26% of the total things on the on the planet. Don't fact check me on that.
I was literally talking about this a few days ago in terms of tanning, because a friend of mine had mentioned, tanning, and I have so many problems with white people wanting to tan because it's so hypocritical. For years now, white people have put down dark-skinned people and people of color for having dark-skinned, and now they automatically want to tan, but they only want to tan to a certain amount, so they still appear white. And it's so hypocritical, because if you're naturally dark, you can't win. And it's the same thing, like beauty standards for people of color are then like snatched away. Like, black people wear dreads, or they do their traditional hairstyles, and they're made fun of for it, but then a white person does it and it looks so trendy. Cute. Yeah, it's trendy. It's like the same thing. Like, there's no winning.
Yeah, no, there's no winning, and I don't know, it's so incredibly frustrating, like, it's just so incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, and even, like, no matter where you go, like, something's gonna be wrong, because even within a community, like, in India, light skin is still perceived as the ideal, and the thing that even bugs me about it even more is because the reason light skin is perceived as the ideal in India is because of colonization by the British. The British came in and they taught Indians that being white was better, and then that became ingrained in India over hundreds and hundreds of years. So now, even in Indian movies that you watch, the ideal love interest woman, she is more likely than not going to be light skinned. They're never going to have a dark-skinned woman as the love interest, and so no matter where you go, there's really no winning,
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, no matter where you go, if you are fat or if you are bigger, you're going to be ridiculed, you're going to be made fun of for literally existing.
Yeah, it's like, there's like one box that you're supposed to like fit into. And I guess it really does depend on where you live, because different places do still have different beauty standards.
Yeah, we're kind of focusing on Western beauty standards because Western beauty standards have basically impacted so much of society at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, there's gonna be, like, one box, depending on where you live, that you're supposed to fit into beauty-wise, and if you don't, then you're just gonna face ridicule, and you're just gonna be told that you're not good enough, and that you're not this enough, and that you're not this enough, and blah, 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 blah. But then once you eventually do finally get into that box, if you so choose to do so, or if you just happen to look like that, then you're told that you're vain, and then you're told that you care too much, and then you're told, like, there's literally no winning.
Yeah.
And beauty standards hurt men so much too, because men are told that they need to be like this buff, like athletic manual
yeah,
like this masculine, like fit, good with tools. Like, they're told that this is like what they have to be, and so few men actually fit that. I mean, shocker. Same thing as women. Like, so few men actually fit that ideal and actually like can do that, but society just pushes us and says, well, this is what you should be, and forces us into uncomfortable roles for ourselves.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I feel like the real biggest thing so many people are doing is like developing eating disorders, and it's literally like an epidemic at this point. Like the amount of people who are developing them it's just like the amount of people who have developed eating disorders. And not everyone develops one for the same reason, but when you're constantly living in a world that sells you beauty as the ideal and that sells you a specific image of beauty as the ideal, then inevitably there's some voice in the back of your mind that's telling you need to achieve it, and that voice can slowly come to the forefront and like take over. And it's horrifying, it's dangerous, it's literally causing lives. Like, it's literally risking the lives of youth because you want to keep making money, you want to keep profiting off of the insecurity of young people. I mean, I've had an eating disorder for 5 years, I've talked about that before. It's not something I'm very quiet about, and like, I developed that eating disorder because I was bullied for being fat. Like, part of the reason I talk about body positivity a little bit is because I know what it's like to be in that position, because I'm not really what you'd consider fat right now, and I don't want to take the voice of actual fat people, but like I was fat at a point in my life and I was bullied for it, and I ended up ultimately developing an eating disorder that I am now almost 18, and when I first started getting bullied I was 10, and still now I am not recovered. I am still in recovery. Like, that's what it becomes. It becomes a lifelong process, because once you're in recovery, you're never truly out of it. You're always going through recovery. Relapse is always a possibility, and this is all because the industry wants to just profit off of the insecurity of young people, and that's ridiculous.
It's just, it's so sad because it affects so many different people. But yeah, the industry just like reinforces over and over and over again that this is what you're supposed to look like. And, you don't look like that. It's just, sucks for you. Sucks to suck. You can try. I mean, you can do our $79.99 package to, try, but...
Whiten your teeth. Like, the amount of things we look into, like how straight your teeth are, like... How ridiculous is that?
Yeah, I mean, like, parents spend tens of thousands of dollars straightening their kids' teeth when their kids, like, don't have any... See, like, I understand it. Like, when I was young, I had, like, a really severe crossbite where I would, like... I would bite my cheek when I would chew. And, like, so that's, like, a valid reason to get braces. But parents, like, spend tens of thousands of dollars purely for cosmetic braces on their kids who have, like, like, one tooth slightly to the left, you know?
Like, when I got braces, it was because I had tons of problems. My jaw was too small, so, like, I did not have enough space for all my teeth. So I needed them, and we're not criticizing the parents who get it for cosmetic reasons, because they're not the problem. It's the industry who's telling them that they need to do this that's the problem.
It's the fact that, we're sold every single day, like, over and over and over. It's the fact that you can't walk down the street to work without seeing ads plastered everywhere of this ideal feminine physique. And it's, like, I have not been a fat person before. Like, I have been overweight before, by, like, a very thin margin, but I have not been fat before. I had weight problems growing up where my weight would fluctuate really fast, based on, like, metabolism issues that are genetic, but that is, like, the extent of that. But my body is naturally just wider framed than the ideal
woman.
Feminine physique. And I've been bullied for being bigger before, and I've been called fat, and I've been called, like, these names, and it's just, like, I don't know. It's frustrating for me, like, looking back on, my life and my, like, what I've been through, and just being like, this is just absolutely fucking ridiculous. And it makes me empathize so much with people who had it worse than me. Because,
I also want to go back to when you brought up, like, the pimples, like, on the nerdy girls. Like, that's another thing. When you do have 23-year-olds playing high schoolers, and I get it to an extent because is hard to like cast actual high
Yeah.
schoolers because they're in school. But when you have these people who are fully developed and stuff playing high schoolers, like so many of them don't really have acne and their bodies don't represent what it's like when you're in high school and you're going through puberty and you're in that awkward stage. And like,
and it's not just like 23-year-olds either. It's like 30 and
yeah, no, it's like
35-year-olds, and it's like.
Yeah. 23 is like generous. Like,
yeah, like that's
like
really
30.
generous.
Yeah, it's like 30, it's like 28, 29, 30 years old
Yeah.
who are playing these high schoolers, and like their like, you know, when you're in high school, when you're going through puberty, it's awkward, it's gross, like you're not having a
no
blast.
offense, Kristen Bell, like I love you, but you don't look like a high schooler.
You don't, yeah, and it's so hard because then these kids who actually have acne, you know, then they start investing in all these ridiculous acne medications to try to save it, when like acne is like a normal thing. Like it's not, and yes,
Yeah,
there are times when acne can get worse and you do need to take action against it, but for so many high schoolers, like it's just a normal average thing.
Yeah.
And now they're investing so much money in trying to get rid of it.
It's just something that happens during puberty for most of the population, you know? And they're trying to charge $80 a bottle of Proactive that you're going to run out of in 2 months if you're using it. Exactly. And that stuff ends up, if you use it too much, drying out your skin and causing a whole host of other skin problems. Yeah. And it's like... And that's the other thing, is so many of these beauty products that they're trying to sell you aren't even actually good for you. Like,
yeah, they aren't even helping.
They aren't helping, and in some cases they're like hurting.
Yeah.
Because there's so many skin products that like dry out your skin and make it age faster, and like, I don't know.
Yeah, I actually had that problem. I didn't realize I had so many personal stories to contribute in this episode, but I actually had an experience really similar to that, like late last year, or maybe, yeah, late last year, I ended up having an allergic reaction to the acne medication I was using, and it was like a horrible experience for me. Like my skin completely dried out. It started getting super red, flaking up. Like I didn't show my face in public for like 4 days because of how horrible it was. I couldn't move. I couldn't move my face. I couldn't talk. Like I couldn't speak properly.
That's
like
messed up.
It was terrible. I was so uncomfortable, and that's what I was being sold, you know? And that's what so many, and I'm one of the lucky ones. Like that was something I was able to treat. I got a dermatologist, you know, she was able to treat it, and my skin's fine now. But there are people who develop lifelong conditions after using these. And we're not trying to scare you and say never,
like, don't take care of your face. Like,
that's not what we're saying.
But
what we're saying is that, like, you have to be vigilant, because there are brands and products that want to help you, but on the other hand, there are brands and products who are only in it for the money. And the fact that as consumers we have to be so vigilant in finding products that won't harm us is sad.
You know, it's you know, it's the sad but critical reality, you know, because all of these companies have one goal. Like, all companies, period, have one goal, and that's profit. And, oh, excuse me, I'm really, like, burpy today. But, yeah, it's sad because all these companies, like, all they want is money, and you have to really hunt for the ones who not just care about money, but also care about their consumers, and also care about the people who are, you know, using and, you know, talking about their products.
Yeah.
You know, there are companies out there that, I guess my point is that, you know, there are companies out there that do care about their consumers and their, like, customers.
Yes.
But it's really on the consumer themselves to go and search that out. And there's going to be so many bad actors there that are just, like, you know, that on the outside look like a perfectly normal, good, we're here to help kind of a company. But
yeah, it's just kind of sad, honestly. Like, again, because it goes back to the fact that beauty standards are always changing, so we're putting so much energy into something that in a few years is going to be completely obsolete, because in a few years what we see as the ideal feminine physique and the ideal masculine physique is going to be different. And, you know, it just... And if you even want to talk about how beauty standards intercede with the gender and how that plays into, you know, being non-binary and being transgender, again, that could be another episode in and of itself, but like...
I'd have to bring a guest on for that because I can't speak on that one that much.
But, you know, it's just to say that, like, no matter what, like, no matter who you are, you're stuck in this cycle.
Yeah. There's, just in, like, our life, I would say that the ideal feminine physique today probably is somewhere around Kim Kardashian, just, like, thick, big eyes. Like, I would say today that's probably where we're at for, like, the ideal feminine physique.
Yeah.
And that's the term we're using a lot. But when we were growing up, it was, short, petite, blonde girl with freckles and, like, bright blue or green eyes. Like, that was the, like, ideal then. So it's, like, even just in our lives, and we're not even 18 yet, like, it's changed.
It's changed.
And it's changed pretty vastly, too, because, a small, petite, tiny blonde girl and very thick, busty girl are two different things.
Yeah, but, like, the thing is, like, you can have, like, a big boobs and a big ass, but you have to have a tiny waist. Like, that's it.
You cannot have, like, you cannot just be a bigger person. You have to have the boobs and the butt and, like, but your tummy, that has to go.
Yeah, and
your thigh gap, that's gotta stay.
Yeah, and, since you brought up Kim K, I think it is important that we touch on plastic surgery while talking about beauty standards. Now, my personal opinion, and after that I would like to hear yours, I think that there are valid aspects of plastic surgery. Now, I'm not just talking about, like, yes, of course, plastic surgery to deal with burns and plastic surgery to help, like, with gender reassignment surgery, obviously. But I also mean cosmetic plastic surgery can be done well because, it goes into the same thing as makeup, fashion. I think that those kinds of self-expression are valid. But so many people who get plastic surgery, they're doing it just because they want to fit this ideal form. Yeah. And that is unhealthy. The intention with which you go into it is important, and there are arguments to be made about whether anyone really has pure intentions if you do live in a society that constantly breeds these toxic ideals, and that, of course, can be studied. But in general, I think that there are valid forms of cosmetic plastic surgery, but more often than not, they're not being used in those forms. They're being gone overboard because it's young people who aren't educated just trying to fit an ideal.
Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely, like, it's up to the person. Mm-hmm. It is up to the consumer. And if you want to spend $15,000 to, change your nose or whatever, that is your decision. But I think that, again, like you said, there's reasons to do that. And if those reasons are just to fit this ideal, beautiful frame, then I don't necessarily think that that's a good way of spending your money.
Mm-hmm.
And if that is how you express yourself, then that is how you find, like, because I'm, for a lot of people, like, fitting this ideal, or not necessarily this ideal, but fitting their own personal ideal and expressing themselves and how they look and becoming, like, their dream image of themselves can be, like, a coping mechanism. And, we could have a whole long discussion about whether it's a healthy one or not, but regardless, it is what it is. And I think that people who do that, it's their decision. It's not for me, but it's their decision.
Yeah, the other side of that too, though, is that not only are we selling young people, influencers who use Facetune and who use Photoshop to change their bodies, we're selling them people like the Kardashians who have these millions and millions of dollars to spend on plastic surgery, and then we're telling them, oh, but you have to look like them.
It frustrates me the most when we have someone like, when we have, like, an ad for something. Like, we have an ad for, I don't know, face moisturizer. Mm-hmm. And then you see the original picture of the, model or celebrity in question.
Yeah.
And it's like, did they even use the moisturizer? Yeah. Or is this all Facetune? Mm-hmm. Or is this all just, like, Photoshop? Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't feel like you can, I don't know. I feel like maybe we need to do something with the FCC where we make these, like, just make it more severe, and make, like, there be more regulations about this kind of thing, because you can't be posting an advertisement for, like, an acne cream or, like, a facial product of any kind if you're gonna Photoshop that entire photo to smooth your skin out and make it look like there's no blemishes or wrinkles or anything at all. Because how can you accurately be advertising this product if the image itself is not accurate?
I don't know if you like remember this, but like there was a time when like Kendall Jenner or whatever, like she had like this announcement coming out, and they made it such a huge deal. Like it was made into literally the biggest deal in the world. Like it was like she was gonna announce, I don't know, she's pregnant or something, and literally the announcement was that she had acne and she used Proactive.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I was like, that was like, what? Like you have acne like a normal fucking human? Yeah. Shocker.
Yeah, like, and I'm not saying that you can't have insecurities about acne, because so many people do. I do. Like, everyone has, not everyone, but a lot of people do have insecurities about it.
You're breaking out right now. I don't remember if I am, but I think I said something about that last night to myself. So.
But regardless, like, making it into this huge deal, this huge announcement that you're now like Proactive's new sponsor is ridiculous and over the top. And
it's like, I don't know. I think it's just frustrating because it's like you're this big, massive, you know, multi-million-dollar. Would we call Kendall an influencer? I would, because she's not an actress.
She's a model, I guess.
Model. Okay.
And look, you know, sorry, but look at everything else she has. She has like the, you know, more ideal feminine physique. Like, look at everything else she has. So she gets a pimple once in a while.
Yeah, like, it's like. It's making such a big deal out of something that is just a part of, like, everyday life for most people. Yeah. And, I don't know, I just find that frustrating.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, I remember when the movie 8th Grade came out. Did you see it?
I didn't see it.
Okay. Well, I remember when it came out, and, like, my friends and I went to see it, and we came out, and we were like, wow, those were actual 8th graders. Like, that girl had acne. And whatever, like, it's how people look, and it just felt so much more organic and natural.
And it's like, it's sad that you were surprised, that like we were like surprised when something like that happens. Like, it's really like, it's frustrating that we're sad when, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, it's like no one can ever be 100% the ideal. Maybe you can have 2 qualities of it, but how are you going to fit the whole thing?
Yeah.
How are you going to
How are you going to go the full 9 yards? I mean, it's like, it's just, I don't know, it's foolish because every person is so unique, and rather than all trying to fit this one, you know, box of beauty, I feel like we should just celebrate our uniqueness in ourselves, because that's the best part about any of us.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of uniqueness, can we take a moment, because I wanted to do this, to praise drag queens?
Yes!
I have so much love for drag queens because they just said, fuck beauty roles.
Yeah, they pretty much just said, fuck the standards, like, we're gonna do what we want. And also just, like, a bunch of praise to, like, all of the men who are breaking down barriers right now and, for beauty standards.
Yeah, men who are breaking down barriers, and then also, like, the women who are fat, or whatever term they prefer to use. Yeah. I say fat, not as an insult, but because I think fat and thin and both should be treated equal, but everyone has their own term. Yeah. But, you know, the women who are fat, or whatever term they prefer to use, you know, for breaking down stereotypes, for the models and celebrities who choose not to use Photoshop, you know, like you said, the men who are using makeup, you know, drag queens just because they deserve everything. You know, just everyone who's actually, like,
people who are speaking out and talking about this.
Who are taking the steps, because it is a hard thing to take the steps to prevent, because a lot of the people who are breaking down these barriers are people who were at first met with flack and were bullied, or who are survivors of eating disorders. Those are the people who are, you know, so often now the ones who are changing this. And that is a hard thing to do in a society that basically makes you the other for being yourself. Yeah. So I just think that it is really cool, and I'd rather have my Instagram feed be filled with people like that than the same, you know, ideal woman every other post. And that's not to say that people who naturally fit the ideal aren't valid. They are. It's it's like the people we were talking about before, you know, like the Kendall Jenners, the Kim K's, like, that's who we mean. That's not what I want my feed to be filled with.
The people who keep perpetuating the standard.
Yeah,
and who, the millionaires and the billionaires who keep the standard going and keep the money train a-flowing out of our pockets.
Yep. Yes. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, it's hard because I so commend the people who are speaking out, but even with them speaking out, the beauty industry will always act the way it is because it helps it gain profit. Because as long as the beauty industry sells insecurity, it will gain profit. And that is so much of the reason why this constantly happens. So, you know, I always hope for things to change, but it's hard when we exist in this society.
It's hard because Western society is so based on like commercialization and just, you know, capitalism in general. And I'm not going to talk about capitalism because
again, that should be a whole
it's a very gray topic, and it's, you know, time for another day. But like, we have this society that's just profit, and it loses care for the individual because we're not taking care of the individual. We're taking care of, you know, as many people as we can. And I think that's another reason why so many fucking beauty products that are out there are geared towards white women, and like hair products in particular are pretty much just for one type of hair. And it sucks because there's fucking like 20 different types of hair and 20 different, there's more than that, but like, you know, it's just frustrating.
It like goes back to how they're not really trying to help you, they're trying to help themselves by making money. Yeah.
They're just trying to reach as many people as they possibly can.
Yeah.
And with the most money possible. It's sad.
It's a sucky situation. On that really bright note, you know, that really positive note of how sucky the situation is.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I feel like the core of it is just that we should be teaching young people of all genders to love themselves and, you know,
to celebrate their own uniqueness.
Yeah, and the best way you can start is by making that change within yourself. And I'm not saying it's easy because I know firsthand how hard it is. I'm not even there yet, but I think that loving yourself in this world is an act of rebellion, and it's really powerful. So that's what we should all be aspiring to do.
Yeah, I think it really is probably one of the most important lessons that a person could learn, is just to love themselves and just to care for themselves.
Yes.
And, you know, we all get there at different speeds, but learning to just appreciate and love you for you and not be trying to fit yourself into this perfect little box, it's just good. It's, you know, it'll only serve you.
Yeah. So, on that note, again, like we said, there are going to be resources listed in the description below, so check those out, and we'll have a link to our joint channel. Go follow it, because starting next week, I haven't brought this up with Mikayla, but I'm saying it on camera, so now she's going to have to agree.
Oh, shit.
Starting in our next episode, we're going to do half of the episodes on my channel and the second half on our joint channel, so you're going to have to subscribe. So,
you didn't tell me about this? We can't be friends anymore.
That'll make this podcast real hard to do. And we will have the links to our personal selves, whatever other podcast
all social
materials,
media type things. And
that'll just all be in the description. Look at the description if you want condensed information that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I have been Mikayla.
You have been?
I have been Mikayla. I'm not Mikayla anymore.
Okay.
I'm Pav.
I'm Mikayla.
This has been
Work in Progress.
I forgot it again.